So I just got back from an afternoon of hunting, and I cut the trip a little early, even though it's a nice day and maybe a little windy, but the rut is on. And what I got to do is I've got to get this motor ready for winter storage. Now, what I'm going to tell you is what a lot of people forget to do, is they forget to change their lower unit oil, and it's probably the most important thing, or one of the most important things you can do to make sure your engine's ready for the following season. And what I mean is, it's supposed to go down into the low 20s tonight here. And sometimes you might have a leak. And if you had a leak in your lower unit, then it's going to get full of water. And what happens when water freezes? It expands. So that's going to crack that lower unit, and that's a huge job. So what I recommend, and other people have told me as much, is that every year you change the lower unit oil this time of year to make sure that there's no water in there. And I've already loosened this up a little. So what I'm doing, I'm going to put the camera down here, and I'm going to take that screw out. And I got a little catch basin underneath, because there's oil that's going to come out. It's going to come out really slow. And you can see, there it's coming. There may be a little water getting in there. I may have wanted to do this when it was a little warmer, but I'm going to let that drain all night long. I'll take the other screw out up top, and release the suction. One thing you have on these screws is you have a magnet, so you can see if there's any metal on there. If you had metal on there, the metal would show you that your gears are breaking down and there's some critical failure going on. And I don't have any shards of metal on there, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. Although when I look at that oil, I'm thinking that oil's got some water mixed in. So I'm glad I'm doing this right now, because obviously a little bit of water got into that gear case. It should come out clear, and I might have some work to do this spring. But I'm going to let that out right now, and tomorrow I'll be loading it up with gear lube. Now all you need is this little pump. $8 you can get that thing for at Walmart or order it online. It's not a lot of money. And what I'll do tomorrow, and you'll see me do it, is load up my gear lube, and we'll call that part of it done. So it's the next morning, and as you can see, overnight all that oil has dripped out. I'm going to let her down some more. I'm going to let out some more of that oil. Make sure we get it all. Looks like we got some water that's definitely gotten in there. You can see it's coming out. Nice and slow, see? And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let that drain for another, say, 5 minutes. And then I will pump the fresh gear lube into the motor. So we'll start there in a moment. So using the pump that I showed you last night, which you can get, as I said, at Walmart or anywhere else for $10. I'm going to go in here through the drain hole, and I'm just going to screw it in. Now, you're going to actually pump from the bottom, which takes a little getting used to.
During my tenure as a police officer, I carried a Glock Model 23 40 caliber pistol on my hip.
Here we go. So now that it's in there, I'm just going to start priming it, pumping. And it's probably going to take two of these. Well, it should take 1.5 probably, if I remember right. And I had this inside last night. It makes sense to have it inside last night because it was pretty darn cold outside. And what you're going to do is pump it up until you get oil coming out here. Nope, it just took one. So now I'm putting the screw back in, and I'll tighten that up. Make sure I don't cross thread it. Got that guy back in. Now, you got to do the same thing for the bottom. And when you do the one for the bottom, you're going to have a little bit come out. There's really no way to stop that from happening, I don't think. It's really a pretty simple little operation. Make sure you're snug. Don't over tighten. Snug. Snug. We've got the lower unit changed now. And our next step is going to be to remove the battery. But before I do that, I'm going to crank her back up. So it's Thanksgiving. We've got the boat over in the winter storage area, which is the second driveway that I have for the boat. And what we're going to do now, we've already changed the oil, the lower unit oil, or gear lube, and we're going to take out the battery, get this thing squared away to bear the snow. Now you can do this a lot of different ways. Some people will shrink wrap it. In fact, probably most people shrink wrap it now, but I just go over and get myself a tarp In this case, it's a 21-foot boat, so I like to get a 20 by 30-foot tarp. And then I'm going to set up support for the tarp on the top of the boat, and we're going to get it ready to bear a snow load. And I'll show you a couple of the other things that you need to do, among which, and you really should remember this, before it freezes, any area where water might collect on your boat, be sure you open that up and drain the water. Now that is the drain hole for the rigging tube. And the rigging tube is something people forget about all the time. The rigging tube will, no matter what you do, it'll get water in it. And if water freezes, it expands, as you know, and that's going to crack your hull. So make sure, whatever you do, you open up all your through hull fittings that might contain a little bit of water and drain, or you're talking about a serious bill at the end of the winter when you discover that you've got a cracked deck and everybody else does too, and you are now either selling your boat or looking for somebody to do some major operational therapy on it. Well, you can see that temperature. It's right around 30 degrees, and that means it's time to get the battery out and cover that boat. We've already got some snow that's fallen maybe 15 miles to our west in the Berkshires, and we don't want to get any snow accumulating in the Aquavictus Maritime Skiff Pioneer. So we're going to get the battery out right now, which is not a big task, and anybody should be able to handle this. Just don't want to electrocute yourself. Now I got my motor down already. That's good because I'm going to need the battery power to get it down. But right now, here we are. Home sweet home. Speaking of battery compartment, you don't want to strip your screws. I got the wing nuts on here. You also don't want to electrocute yourself by cross connecting. There we go. See now, taking out the negative. Get that wing nut off. I like an Interstate battery as my starting battery. Very dependable. It's going to cost you a little bit more money than your Walmart battery, but if you're out at sea, you want to know that when you turn that key, you're going to get an ignition. So we get that wing nut off. We're going to take our negs. We're going to put them all together over here so they'll be easy to locate. Not that they're going to be wicked hard to locate, but put them all right there. Now I'll go for the positive. Again. There we go. And this is going to be easier. Get it right off. I never have problems with the battery because I've got a guess switch. You can see this switch right here. So when I turn that on, it activates the battery. When I turn that off, everything in the boat that has power is severed from the battery. So that's a really nice addition for your boat. Battery is disconnected and out. Now we want to immediately throw our battery on the charger and charge it up. Red to red, black to black, everything's good. Now we're going to plug it in. I like an automatic battery charger. You can get one pretty easily. When this thing is done charging, which will be in about 2 hours maybe, I'm going to take that battery and I'm going to put it inside my mudroom on a piece of wood where it's nice and warm. We're not going to have a problem with the thing discharging in the winter. There's nothing worse than coming out in the springtime and having a battery that isn't cooperating. So charge it up now, let it sit, hit it with the charger again in the spring, and then hook it up. Everything's good then. At least you're doing everything you can to make it good. So we've got some snow coming, and I got to get this thing covered. Before I cover it though, I'm going to have to put up a rigging over the top to give my tarp something to rest on. So this is my way of doing it. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a spider web of ropes supported by a PCV pipe with a metal pipe inside to give it strength, mounted on top of an old cooler to keep it up high. And I'm now going to put the tarp over that and bungee strap it down. The idea that when the snow falls, it just slides right off. And I don't have to come out here in a blizzard and shake and shake and shake. This has worked in various forms. If you were to see me do this next year, it will look completely different because I'll figure out a different way to tie the ropes up and make the spider web. The whole point is, all I'm trying to do is get that tarp up off the boat and make a really steeply pitched tent. And then, when I put the bungees on, to really sock them down because we're going to get some winds here. I'm sure by February we'll have clocked some 50, 60 mile an hour winds and some winter storms. And we just want this guy to sit out here, be all ready for next season. So we've got the spider web set up here. You can see I've got ropes going from the bow up over the top of the cooler and down to the stern. And that's all to support the snow load, right? So we're going to see, now my brother's over here. We're going to pull the tarp up over the top and bungee it down just to skosh it away. It's supposed to get a little snow tomorrow night, just to make sure we don't get any snow inside the boat. And as I'm saying to you, there's nothing worse. If you get snow in a boat, the snow melts, turns into water, slush, refreezes, you got a skating rink in there, it gets into cracks, it causes all kinds of system failures. It's the last thing you want to do with your boat if you want your boat to last. And I mean, I'm a regular guy. I don't got the money to go buy a new boat every 5 years because I'm too stupid to take proper care of it. It's true. I mean, but the point is, that's what we're going to do right now. So now, it's time for the tarp. I'm going to do this in probably fast motion. Up a little, but the whole secret here is so that rain comes down, snow comes down, and guess what? It just slides right off the car. This is wonderful. Now I'm going to jack it up. When I jack it up, I'm going to get the tires off the ground. That's the last thing I'll do. Get the tires off the ground and probably pull the tires. I think I'm going to get new tires in the winter this year, mounted on those rims. Get it done in the winter, you don't have to worry about getting it done in the spring. You know?